noticed how the AI that writes you a poem feels completely different from the one that writes you a piece of code? One is this free-willing creative, and the other is a super precise engineer. It feels like they're two different brains, but are they? Today, we're diving into these two AI minds, what we'll call the big picture planner and the detail-obsessed engineer, to figure out how they really think and why that difference matters so much. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with how these two minds are actually built on the same foundation. Then we'll get into the really cool part, the difference between thinking in prose versus thinking in code. From there, we'll talk about how you can pick the right AI for your team, see how they can work together as an architect and editor, and finally, look at what this all means for the future. All right, first up, let's meet our two AI personas. We've got the generalist, the big picture thinker, and we've got the specialist, a master of the nitty-gritty details. And what might surprise you is that they basically share the same DNA. Yeah, under the hood, both of these AIs are running on the exact same engine, the transformer architecture. So what gives? Why is one a poet and the other a programmer? Well, it's not about their design, it's all about their education. The real difference is what data they were trained on and the very specific skills they were fine-tuned to develop. Let's break that down. On one side, you have the generalist, our planner. It's been fed a massive diet of human language. We're talking books, web pages, conversations, the whole shebang. This makes it amazing at open-ended conceptual problems. On the other side, you have the specialist, our engineer. It went to a different kind of school. It was fine-tuned on huge repositories of code, mastering the super strict rules and logic of programming. It really is like a visionary architect versus a master builder. So how do these two different minds actually tackle a problem? This is where they really start to look different. It all comes down to their process for reasoning. The generalist, our planner, uses something called a natural language chain of thought. And that's just a fancy way of saying it thinks out loud, in plain English. It breaks a problem down step by step, explaining its logic as it goes, almost like it's writing on a whiteboard for you. And this is a perfect example. You give it a classic riddle about chickens and cows, and it doesn't just give you the answer. Nope, it shows its work. It defines its variables, sets up the equations, and walks you through the algebra. Its entire thought process is laid out as a clear, readable story. Now, the specialist, our engineer, has a totally different style. It uses what's called a structured chain of thought, or SCoT for short. Instead of thinking in plain language, it thinks in a way that mirrors code itself. It creates a logical skeleton of the solution, using things like loops and branches, before it even writes the first real line of code. Check this out. If you ask it to swap pairs of items in a list, its internal thinking isn't a paragraph. It's basically pseudocode. It outlines a structured plan. First, identify the pattern, then loop over specific indices, then swap the items. This blueprint translates directly into clean, working code. It is literally thinking like a programmer. And this isn't just about style. It actually gets much better results. For coding tasks, thinking in this structured way provides a nearly 14% performance boost in accuracy compared to just thinking in natural language. And when you're writing code, a boost in precision like that is absolutely huge. Okay, so we've established we have two very different kinds of thinkers here. This brings up a really important question. How do you know which AI teammate to pick for the task you're working on? This table really lays it out. The generalist planner is your go-to for vague prompts, creative work, and high-level conceptual stuff. But its weakness is that it can sometimes hallucinate code or make syntax errors. The specialist engineer, on the other hand, is an absolute ace at generating accurate, runnable code. But it's got a narrower focus. It's not going to be very conversational or creative. It's the classic trade-off. Do you need broad creativity or specialized precision? But this brings us to a really powerful idea. What if we don't have to choose? What if, instead, we could combine their strengths and build an AI dream team? Well, there's a tool out there called Aider that gives us a fantastic real-world example of this exact idea. They call it their architect/editor workflow, and it's a super clever way to get the best of both worlds. So here's how it works. First, the architect, which is our big picture planner, just describes the solution to a problem in plain English. It creates the blueprint.
Then the editor, our detail-oriented engineer, takes that high-level plan and turns it into precise, perfectly formatted code. It's a perfect division of labor, letting each AI do exactly what it does best.
And this wasn't just some abstract theory. The team behind Aider realized that some of the new, really powerful reasoning models were brilliant thinkers, but they were kind of clumsy when it came to formatting the final code. So they solved this very practical problem by pairing a great thinker with a great coder. Once the code is all ready to go, the editor can deliver it in two formats. It can do a whole edit where it just rewrites the entire file with the changes. This is slower, but it can be more accurate. Or it can generate a diff, which is just the specific lines that need to be added or removed, kind of like a patch. This way is much faster and more efficient. And the results really show you the power of this kind of teamwork. A strong reasoning model working by itself scored almost 80% on a key benchmark. That's good. But when you pair it with an editor model, that score jumps all the way to 85%, a new state-of-the-art result. It's proof that two specialized AIs working together can actually beat one powerful AI working alone. So, after going through all that, what is the big picture takeaway here? What's the key idea? It really just boils down to these three things. One, AIs have two distinct styles of thought, the generalist's freeform prose versus the specialist's structured logic. Two, it's all about using the right tool for the job. Planners are for concepts, engineers are for execution. And finally, and maybe most importantly, synergy is everything. Combining a reasoning architect with a coding editor creates a team that is far more powerful than either could be on its own. Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on for the future. As we move forward, is the ultimate goal to build a single, all-knowing AI mind that can do everything perfectly? Or, as we've seen today, is the real future of AI actually a perfectly coordinated team of specialists, where each one is an undisputed master of its own domain? The answer to that is going to shape everything that comes next.